Iran. We begin 9 o'clock with this Truth Social post that has been put out quite literally an hour ago, in fact 30 minutes back, by the President of the United States of America. He writes, "Oil is flowing like never before thanks to the awesome power of the United States military. A special salute to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff Dan Kane, and Commander of the United States Central Command Admiral Brad Cooper. Because of them and all members of the most powerful military anywhere in the world, by far, the Strait of Hormuz is open to all ship traffic except for Iran. And that is because of their lying, violent, malicious leadership, which is taking them down the path of total destruction. We will therefore have a full blockade, but only ships coming to and from Iranian ports or carrying anything that has to do with Iranian cargo. Based on highly productive conversations with Middle East leadership, I have decided to replace the 20% United States reimbursement fee with trade and investment deals that the various Gulf states will be making to the United States. Those investments will be massive, but at the same time, extraordinarily good for them in their future. As everyone is aware, we have the largest dollar investment into the United States of any country in history, but these new investments will make that number even larger, and we will see factories, plants and equipment pour into the United States at a historic level, which will create additional millions of high-paying American jobs. America is winning again, winning like never before, and the days of Iran killing hundreds of thousands of people, including 52,000 protesters, are over, and most importantly, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump." So viewers, the big takeaway here is that as far as Middle Eastern nations are concerned, the United States of America has decided to replace the 20% US reimbursement fee with trade and investment deals that the various Gulf countries will be making into the United States of America. This is what Trump has now said in his latest posts. But remember, two countries, they were at war. One of them started it. It led to a blocking of a global shipping route, and both of them began demanding fees for commercial ships passing through that route. By its definition, viewers, a mafia is a criminal organization that uses violence and intimidation and coercion to control territory for profit or power. That is what Donald Trump's 20% fee for all commercial ships transiting through the Strait of Hormuz should be looked at, that exact context. India today has summoned the Iranian diplomat after an Indian seafarer was killed in Iranian attacks on two UAE containers. This is the third such attack on an Indian-linked container. They first attack us, then they want money for the global shipping route. While the Middle Eastern nations, as per Mr. Donald Trump, are for the moment exempt from this 20% fee, let's look at the maths of the two mafias that are running currently in the world, and then let's ask the question, which one is worse? And I'll come back to this statement by Donald Trump in just a moment. But if you put this out on our screens, let's go to the first plate. It's right here. 17 ships have been struck, 2 ships were damaged, 12 seafarers have been killed, 3 Indian ships were attacked. Iran, viewers, at this point in time was, since the war started in March, it was getting roughly about $2 million per commercial vehicle. This was an arbitrary figure that Iran was charging for transit, and this is what was in fact helping them stay afloat. Then President Donald Trump comes in, he declares the US is the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz, and he demands a 20% reimbursement fee. So if we look at just Iran, since March 24, our calculations tell us that 513 ships have passed at roughly a rate of $2 million per ship. That comes to a total of over $1 billion that Iran has made. And like I said, the country at this point in time has no other way to earn money, but this is how essentially they've managed to keep themselves afloat. Then comes the United States of America that wants a 20% reimbursement fee on every cargo ship. We are looking at an average of $200 million for cargo per ship. That means the US at a rate of 20% will be earning about anywhere between $30 to $40 million per commercial vehicle, per ship. The ships passing every day roughly stand between 100 to 130, and calculations as per reports then put the total estimated daily earnings at $4 billion. Imagine this, you start a war on some pretext against Iran, and eventually within 6 months you figure out a way to how to make money off this route, because you know that there is possibly no other option before the world. And imagine this is what you do then to all your partners in the Middle East. These are countries that gave their entire security management in a way to the United States of America. Not only has the US failed to really keep these nations protected, today President Donald Trump, can we please put this back on the screens? Today President Donald Trump comes and says that as far as Middle East leadership is concerned, he has decided to replace the 20% United States reimbursement fee with trade and investment deals that various Gulf states will be making into the United States of America. It's gotten very interesting now, unfortunately, at the cost of the world. Let me take this conversation forward. Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee with us on the broadcast, Surinder Singh Lali, foreign affairs expert, and Dr. Sharad Kohli. Let me first begin with Sharad Kohli. Sharad Kohli, as far as the mathematics of this is concerned, what is your assessment and breakdown?
Well, there is madness behind mathematics is all I would say. There is absolutely no sense, what he's trying to do. Everything is measured by a deal. Everything is measured by dollars. People are losing their lives. People are losing their living. The economies are getting destroyed. The whole fiscal balance sheets around the world, Devika, that is getting upset. There's one man who's only thinking of money, and there's the other, as you call them, mafia. They are busy killing people, innocent people who've got nothing to do, Indian seafarers losing their lives. This is extremely, extremely objectionable and non-tolerable. I mean, this should be taken up. In fact, I would go on to suggest on your show today that India must retaliate. India must provide security to the ships in passing through that area. And, every time there is an attack, Indian Navy should come and fire back at them, because this cannot be tolerated at any cost. So there's one man who's busy making money. There's the other side, which is recklessly, firing and killing people. In the process, they are losing a lot of their own assets also. Well, at this point of time, Devika, if you ask me, I really don't know where this is heading towards, because this time there is that useless Pakistan also not there to mediate. Last time at least there was Pakistan. We saw the two mullahs running from here and there, trying to mediate. This time there are no mullahs as well. At least they were doing something, although it didn't turn out to be anything. But today, even they are not there. So there is no mediation now. I'm told that some of the countries who wanted to mediate, they said, Koile ki dalali mein muh kala, we don't want to get into this because this is not leading us anywhere. This is a classic case of hafta vasuli by mafias, Devika, which appears just when the world economy, the Indian economy was beginning to settle down, when the crude oil prices had come down to about $72, $73, and our crude oil basket purchase had come down to about $68, $69, just when there was some ray of hope that probably in the next quarter, things might improve. It has gone, we are back to square one. Look at the inflation numbers as far as India has come today, although the US inflation numbers, seem to be a little better. I don't know how far they are true, but they seem to be better. But look at the Indian numbers. Look at the wholesale price index today, 9.87. Look at the retail CPI, 4.38. The inflation is gradually seeping into the economy, and this is directly going to impact, because we are a consumption-driven economy. It's going to hit us hard. This will slow down the economy which was envy of the world. And those people, they are not worried. They are only thinking about their dollars, where to make money from. They are least concerned about how the globe is going. And you know, what surprises me, Devika, is that this man is going to face elections in 4 months. Look at what is happening to people of America. There is no approval for this action. Absolutely. They say Iran has got a nuclear weapon. We won't let them make a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, but that's what, Sharad, that's what, right? I don't know what's going to happen in the US elections, but who knows? Who knows? The fact that Donald Trump did get a second term clearly tells you, anyway, the state of America at this point in time. Given that since the beginning of the presidency, it's just been these sort of actions, one after the other. Sharad, I'll come to you in just a moment. But Ambassador Mukherjee, I have to understand from you, ma'am, you know, you start a war, then obviously you've cornered Iran, so they've blocked Hormuz, so you make that into a way to just continuously target Iran to get what you want, which is no nuclear weapons. That was the whole deal, and suddenly it's all become about business. Let's try to extract as much as we can from the world, because you realize that America, yes, it's the topmost economy, but it's also without rest of the people, you know, in terms of pumping in our best brains and pumping in our money. Where will America stand today? And it seems as though this is now just another one of these schemes by the current Trump administration to just get more money from countries. How does this change, ma'am, the dynamics in the Middle East, the Gulf nations that, like I said, entrusted the United States of America with their security? You're now telling them that I'm not going to charge you 20% reimbursement fee, but instead you push in that money into my country.
Well, Devika, thank you for having me on your show. Let's first get a perspective on the first issue you raised, which is, why did Trump get into this conflict? He got into this conflict because Netanyahu conned him into the conflict, which other US presidents refused to get drawn in. Secondly, the 20% which he's withdrawn was announced yesterday. So I asked to you, our viewers in India, how much credibility more can Trump lose? He says one announcement the day before and withdraws it the next day. As far as the 20% which he announced, he actually greatly damaged the Western argument that the Straits of Hormuz is a free shipping zone according to the UN Convention on the Law of the Seas, and that Iran, correctly he said, has no right to impose any fee. In that case, how can he impose a fee? This is not colonial times, where the colonialists had one approach with, I think we have a foreign colleague who's joined, so I'll translate. They have one standard for the Goras, which we call white people, and another standard for the colonized. But we are no longer in colonial time. You can't have double standards. If you want to protect international law, which clearly says that Iran is wrong in talking about a fee, as is Oman, then you, as United States, the most powerful country in the world, the country which established the global order after World War II, the country which was looked at by its strategic partners, including India, as a country to look to for support and security. Today, Trump has destroyed American credibility, which is unfortunate, because America is a great country and does not deserve to have such a president. As far as Iran is concerned, it has absolutely zero right to impose any fee on any ship. It's a zone which has to remain free, And I would like to correct you, Devika, in saying Iran has not attacked any Indian ship flying the Tiranga. India has attacked other ships, which is very wrong, which are manned by Indian sailors because India, like China, has the highest number of sailors doing commercial shipping. That they were not flying, those ships which were attacked were not flying the Indian flag. Whether tomorrow they will attack a ship flying the Indian flag, I don't know. They are rapidly turning out to be as unpredictable as Trump. Clearly, it's a virus which is spreading from US to Iran, maybe through direct contact because of the field marshal. But all I can say is that under no circumstance can the global community accept any fee from Iran, from Oman, from US. It's free waters. And in the meantime, I am very happy that our government is rapidly looking at alternative sources of getting fuel, etc., because we cannot on a long-term basis, as a huge country of 1.4 billion people, be held hostage in this manner, one day by Iran, one day by Oman, most of the time by Trump. It's not possible. And Trump, if he continues like this, he will definitely lose the midterms. He has said if he is assassinated, he is given orders that Iran should be destroyed. That is against the American Constitution. If he is assassinated, Vance will become vice president and Vance will decide what to do. He can't leave in his will instructions. In case I am assassinated, JD, make sure that this so-called 5,000-year civilization is completely obliterated. He sounds like some crazy Nazi who wanted to wipe out all the Jews from the world. In fact, I seriously fear for global security in case he has gone gaga. That's for the Americans to decide. The midterms, mercifully, are not very far away. Devika.
Okay, all right. Let me bring in Surinder Singh Lali into the conversation as well before we move to Mr. Eric Lemkule, who joins us as well. Surinder Lali, I want to understand also from your perspective, how does this change the dynamics as far as the US relations and US credibility, an important factor that Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee also raised. What does this mean for US credibility in the Middle East and also rest of the world? Why should anybody be paying a 20% fee? Why should that money, then you will say, okay, we won't charge you a 20% fee. What's stopping the United States of America from making the same deal to India? That don't pay us the 20% fee, but instead, whatever the equivalent is, you just pump that money into the United States of America.
Thank you, Devika. Devika, you said American credibility. It's down in the pits. You know, they say when you're in a hole, you need to stop digging. But Donald Trump, with his war of choice, has not only cornered himself because he's an extremely egoistic, mercantilist monarch who still thinks that he's a king and not a leader of a democratic elected government. Honestly, without wasting much time, I think the Americans, the Republicans, and the Democrats need to get up and they need to enact the 25th Amendment and have him removed, have him resign, because I don't think he's mentally stable. It's not me, Devika. I'm just going to quote 5. I'm not going to waste much of time. Former White House ally Ty Cobb, who was White House lawyer for the Trump, says his mental position is not great. Nikki Haley, during her 2024 primary campaign, also said that his mental and cognitive fitness is questionable. John Kelly, Sidney Conger, there are tens of people, and not the least the governor of Illinois was about 2 weeks ago on record saying that, his name is J.B. Pritzker, he says that Trump is suffering from dementia. So now getting to your point, now, 136 days with this war of choice. Let's see where have we gotten. Iran, far more emboldened, brazen, and maybe a middle power now. China is watching, enjoying where America does, how America does, where America lacks, so that the next time which they're going to counter America or take Taiwan, they know exactly the vulnerabilities of the United States of America. Russia, that is sitting out in the wilderness, is making money and can again fund its own war. GCC countries, I feel really bad for them because they're like headless chickens now. I mean, with this 20% of AFTA that he's asking, I mean, these are countries who probably feel cheated because as if now they paid protection money and the petrodollar for America would come and help them. But lo and behold, America goes and helps Israel. And now they are becoming targets of a war which they never chose. Now, the other question for another debate is that now, is America going to move all its military bases to the state of Israel because they don't want this nuisance value called the United States of America, which Donald Trump has created? NATO is like a paper tiger. The state of Israel, the least said the better. Pakistan, Begani Shadi mein Abdullah Diwana. I mean, I'm so happy that country, which is a glorified banquet hall, was not able to achieve any success, although I want more peace. But, you know, we can't live with a country which is absolutely bankrupt and has been helping Donald Trump with his world crypto liberty, only of being a useful idiot and a bigger nuisance value, the only Islamic country with a nuclear bomb. The public of Iran, I mean, imagine help was coming. Look at the way Donald Trump has cheated the people of Iran, who was unhappy, theocratic, dictatorship. Where do they go now? IRG is far more powerful and so is Iran. The world is in a big mess and the United States credibility is down the drain. I've done just some math, if you allow me just a minute. With this 20% hafta, although 130 to 150 ships did pass through the Strait of Hormuz under normal circumstances. But a conservative, estimation in the last, if I was to do about for 3 months, if 15 oil tankers go per day, which is 1 billion apiece, 20%, that's 200 million. LNG carriers, 150 million apiece, which comes to 50 million at the rate of 20%. Other vessels, 20%, which are $250 million a piece, and there are 20 of them going 50 million. So is America now going to wasool hafta with $300 million a day? That comes to $9 billion a month. So now this whole thing has become a mockery, and his stooge club is doing nothing else but keeping quiet. I mean, Devika, there are almost 15 to 20,000 seafarers, Indians on the high seas. 17 to 20% of merchant navy staff all across the world is Indians. And this memorandum of misunderstanding, he has put the entire world, and especially us, India, also in a tight spot. And my last point is, yes, I agree with Dr. Kohli. We need to stand up and give it back to him because that gentleman does not understand, either is incapable or his cognitive abilities, or he's now too unwell to understand that what he's doing, he's digging a deeper hole and going more down, deep down, and taking America down, which is even creating a world with far more fraught, polarized, and divided.
Okay, on that note, I want to bring in Eric. Eric, you've just been listening to some of the Indian commentators here, and you can see how strong the opinion is about the actions of the current US administration, at least in India, from our perspective, and how some of these actions impact us directly and also the world. I want to understand from you, what I want to understand from you is the perception in the United States of America at this point in time. How does the US feel?
You can look at your two panelists. You have one who has a Marxist ideology poster in his background, and the other one's an ambassador who talks about assassinating a U.S. president. I guarantee you, if President Trump, regardless.
Mr. Lally, let him complete his point. Mr. Lally, I'm sorry, Mr. Lally, let him complete his point.
I'm sorry, he cannot say I said assassinate the US president. That is defamation. I said what the US president has said about his defamation. Watch your words, sir. We are a democracy too. We will not accept defamation. Thank you.
All right, Eric, go ahead. I think you heard the ambassador wrong entirely there.
Well, just insinuating that that could possibly happen is a ridiculous notion. Anybody who assassinates a U.S. president from another country is going to turn their country into a sea of glass. Regardless of the political party, if it was Joe Biden, Barack Obama, it wouldn't matter. So that is not going to happen.
But Eric, it's funny you say that because the U.S. president himself insinuates that.
He has the right to insinuate that.
Indian commentators sitting here on a news channel are insinuating that the U.S. president, has the U.S. president not insinuated that he could be assassinated by Iran? Why does he say that?
Because the threats have been coming in since his first term from Iran. This isn't anything new that he hasn't been hearing.
Why blame Indian panelists then? You should apologize to me.
So if an Indian panelist is simply raising that point, it's not correct to say that she's insinuating anything. The US president himself has said it. But keeping that aside now, Eric, I just want to understand from you the American perspective here. What is the perception of Donald Trump in America? Elections are inching closer. What is it that you can share with the Indian audience? What's going to happen in your assessment?
Well, if you want to look at the content of the American people live in news cycles. Most of America's not even paying attention to this war. The left media isn't putting a lot of stock into it. They just report what happens overnight, and the right media is doing much of the same. So the ceasefire kind of took the wind out of the sails of how the American people are reacting to this war. And then the gas prices here in America shot down very quick during the ceasefire, and we're not really seeing them go up too much right now. So until it really hits their pocketbook, I mean, our Dow Jones here in America is at almost 53,000. So the pocketbook isn't being affected as much as what people would think it is here. So that's becoming an issue. And the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress have all condemned Iran, other than like the 10% progressives. So we are seeing support for defending America. Just the way that President Trump does it is a little bit different, and the world doesn't know how to take that. And just right now, he's in Washington D.C. with the Prime Minister of Iraq. So we're waiting to see what is going to come out of that meeting. Is that going to be another coalition? He already made a coalition with Turkey. He's starting to build these coalitions with these nations that have been somewhat supportive of Iran. So he's taking those options away in hopes to choke Iran out of their position to go back to the negotiation table. The goal is to get them to negotiate. They couldn't make it past step one. Everybody in America knows that Iran wouldn't even make it past step one. They want to start shooting at ships out in the sea. We can't just let Iran fire on tanker ships out in the sea that are unarmed.
Okay, Sharad wants to make a point, then I'll come to Mr. Lali.
You were going to bring
One second, Mr. Lali, I'll come to you. One second, Mr. Lali, I'll come to you. Sharad.
I'll tell you what the perception in America is. For the first year when he took over presidency, it was the tariff game going on. Well, people of America were inflicted with tariffs. The tariffs ultimately came to people of America, not to the countries. The tariffs were levied on the goods which people were using. Soon as 2026 started, just when about the tariff game was on, this whole thing started. I really don't think the American people are very, very happy about this. Well, Dow Jones, S&P, and NASDAQ may be hitting new records during the war, which is very, very unusual, which categorically shows that there is a lobby across the Wall Street who knows what post is going to come. And then just before that, you create a position of buy and sell and get out by making money, irrespective of the fact that people out there are losing their lives because of the actions being taken. And then, of course, commodity markets, gold and silver, crude oil, everything is being traded. There is a lobby which is creating positions there and making money. So only that lobby may be supporting, in the midterm. But rest of the people, a common man in America, I really don't think is very, very impressed with the way America has been going ever since January 2025, Devika.
All right, Mr. Lali, quick point there.
Well, I'm happy that we have a MAGA supporter in the House, and amazing is the President of the United States of America who sued his own government. I mean, today court threw it out of the court. He sues his own government, his own IRS for $10 billion. I mean, that's one of the most ludicrous things I've ever heard in my life. But what do you expect from a president who has 34 felony counts, 1 conviction, 2 cases pending, 2 impeachments, and 6 bankruptcies? Why is he not allowed the Epstein files to come out? That's a question Eric should answer. Marjorie Taylor Greene was on record saying that Trump told her that, Marjorie, back off even if your children are unsafe, because a lot of my friends are going to get hurt. So I'm absolutely convinced by Eric now, because these MAGA supporters are only thinking through the prism of their white America, which ICE killed just another Colombian individual. I mean, you talk about ISIS and other terrorist organizations, they have been killing people and without body cams. So what's happening in America is no less than what would normally happen in a third world country. And there have been already, I think, 3 attempts on the life of the President of the United States of America within American soil. So I think somewhere the Americans need to realize, because the MAGAs have their head too deep into it, that not only are they ruining the global order, but they are taking America down too. Look at the American credibility with NATO. Look at the American credibility with GCC countries, and look at the way how this state of Israel, Devika, I've heard the dog wagging the tail, but in this case, it's the tail wagging the dog. The way Donald Trump has been, he's been manipulated by Benjamin Netanyahu, and they've been having these public spats and using the F word. So that is the level of politics that Donald Trump and his cronies, or his we call them chamchas in India, but his sycophants have taken to, where half of Pete Hegseth's press conferences are war crimes. So I don't know which world they're living in. They'll have to come out and smell the coffee, because America's deeply isolated. And this is China's
yes, but funnily, the world that they're living in is a world where America is being able to arm twist a lot of other countries. Is a world where America, once again, after 1945, has somewhere shown the world that if America wants, America does as America wants. Is what Donald Trump was trying to show, and that's happened. But Eric, coming back to you, I want to leave the last word with Eric. Eric, I want to just understand from you, when it comes to the US relations with Europe, with the Middle East, are they stronger today in your assessment, or are they weaker today?
So if we go back to, let's say, 6 months ago, when President Trump was really having an issue with Europe, they were as weak as they've ever been. However, President Trump, along with Secretary of State Rubio, J.D. Vance, they have been working to repair that. Just in the meetings that they had last week in Turkey, those went really well. It looks like we're going to start seeing some more participation out of Europe. They say they're going to do it, but whether they do it, that's a whole other different ordeal. But it does look like President Trump is making efforts to improve those relationships. And as it's yet to be seen how that's going to kind of work itself out.
Okay, all right.
The last word.
Okay.
The two individuals to Donald Trump's wisdom that he chose to solve the subterranean issues of the Middle East, Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, and Steve Witkoff, who's been making malls in New Jersey. I rest my case.
Okay, all right. On that note, I've run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us on the broadcast to take that conversation forward. With that, viewers, a very short break.